Cable Channel 6 would like to invite you to the round table.
Welcome to another edition of the Roundtable. My name is Paul Ding. I'm going to host these programs which appear in Marine City in St. Clair on Channel 6 and Channel 902. Now also throughout northern Macomb from Selfridge Air Force Base over to Romeo and all of St. Clair County on the Comcast Channel 12 and Comcast 916. We welcome you. And of course, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at watchctv.org. Always have interesting guests. That's no different today. We welcome back to the roundtable set the 10th Congressional District Representative, Congresswoman Candice Miller. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks, Paul.
Nice
Delighted to join you back here on the roundtable.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
Lots of things have been going on in Washington and lots of things locally. One of the important ones is some information about Selfridge Air Force Base. What's going on there?
Yes. Actually, it's bad news for Selfridge.
Yeah.
I just start off with that. There's no way to sugarcoat it, but the fight is engaged now, and it's not over. So essentially what has happened here is the president's proposal, his budget, which he recently proposed to the United States Congress, calls for elimination of actually 5 different A-10s, that's a type of aircraft, A-10 squadrons across the nation. One of them is the 107th, which is over at Selfridge. There are 24 A-10s there. So the impact on us, first of all, economically, would be about 600 jobs.
Wow.
Yes, so very devastating. It's not good. But, you know, my argument is this. And I met with the Secretary of the Air Force about this, Secretary Donnelly, and told him that I think that if it's a budgetary exercise, that a budgetary case can be made that the Air National Guard, which the 107th is the Air National Guard, can fly that mission with the A-10s much more cost effectively than active duty Air Force,
okay.
really.
All right.
And we can demonstrate that, and the Air Force does know that as well. And so I think the question should be not why did you pick this particular base, because look, there's going to be some cuts.
Yes.
Everybody knows the federal government is on its knees economically, and there has to be some defense cuts, some consolidations. I understand that. So I'm not saying why did you pick, those in my backyard. I don't want to be parochial about it. I think the proper question is, why are you targeting the Air National Guard to the degree that they are, because a disproportionate share of the cuts, almost 60% of all the airplanes that they are proposing to be cut are coming out of the hide of the National Guard, and the biggest share is coming out of the Michigan Air National Guard. So I think we have to demonstrate that they can do their mission very cost effectively, and from a strategic posture, I think it's important with the geographic location of Selfridge, not only national defense, national security, but Homeland Security as well, right? Michigan is a border state, and actually the 107th just recently returned home from a redeployment in Afghanistan, and it was heart-wrenching to be saying, hey, guys and gals, welcome home. You're great American patriots. You did your mission so well, and by the way, we're going to eliminate the squadron. So it's,
how long were they in Afghanistan?
They were there, they've been there for a number of different deployments, and I think this last time they were there for, I want to say, a couple of months.
I heard or read the other day that Senator Levin is going to hold some hearings.
Yes.
Will you be able to testify before that hearing? Or?
Well, that hearing will be, he's the chairperson in the Senate and the Armed Services Committee, and I hope that he makes the argument that I'm making about the budgetary consideration. I think if he asks the Air Force, why did you pick this particular base, I'm not sure that's the right question in my mind. And but the senator is, he's
local.
Well, he's a decision maker, so it really we look to him to be able to save what's happening at Selfridge, really, because here's this process in the Congress. The president proposes, and then it goes to the Congress, both in the Senate, Senate Armed Services is going to have their
That's
turn
Levin.
at it. And then it will, and of course, in the House as well. And so it has to be going through those processes. And then, you know, the whole budget has to be agreed to between both chambers and then to the president. So that's why I say the fight's not over, but we've got a bad situation on our hands.
Do you think the timetable on it will be 6 months, a year, 2 years? How quickly do you think there'll be the final decision?
I would say by the end of the year, we will probably have a pretty good handle on what they're
Wow.
going to do. Not only with Selfridge, but with these other A-10 squadrons around the nation. And some, you know, here's the thing, the defense, again, I don't think, a lot of people say that defense should just automatically be off the table and we should never look for any cuts in defense.
No, I don't think
Yeah,
that.
I don't believe that. I think, you know, there is a waste.
Right.
And if you don't think there is, just take a walk through the halls of the
Yeah.
Pentagon. I mean,
Yeah.
there are things that we could
Yeah.
consolidate. I understand all of that. And, but in this case, I'm not sure that this is the best thing from a budgetary standpoint or from a military strategic posture.
You've got so much on your plate. It's an exciting time. It's always an exciting time in Washington.
It's a historic time.
Yes, it very much is
Yes.
a very historic time. Can you give us a little update on other things that are going on in Washington? Transportation, for example, that bill has been on the front page of all the papers and the television.
Yes.
Where are we at on that?
Well, I sit on the Transportation
Right.
and Infrastructure Committee. My two principal committees are Transportation, and really my principal committee assignment is Homeland Security. But on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, we are trying to get a highway bill through.
Right.
And every 5 years, for a number of decades really, the Congress has had a reauthorization of a highway bill. So
Okay.
our highway bill is about due to expire, our 5-year bill. And in the House wants to have another 5-year bill.
Okay.
The Senate is operating under a 2-year bill. So
Has it always been that way?
no. The Senate is trying to
Change the rule.
change. Well, we're saying, look, we always have had
Yeah,
a 5-year
yeah, yeah.
bill, but because of a lot of the gridlock, we don't think we can get a 5-year bill. The Senate's saying they're going to pass a 2-year bill.
Okay.
So it's unknown which one of these bills will pass.
Okay.
In the House, the big thing that I'm really pushing for is out of our House bill that came out of our committee. We are consolidating over 70 different departments within the federal highways.
Wow.
Consolidating departments, trying to streamline the regulatory process. You know, we see how long it takes to build fix a bridge or fix a road, build a road, and so we're really trying to streamline the process to expedite it. And the biggest thing in the House bill is that we are trying to devolve to the states.
Okay.
Much of what is being done
Okay.
at the federal level, we're saying, look, you know, we're collecting this money. It should be, the states should be able to have pretty wide latitude on, they know better than we do in Washington on how they want to spend their money. So that's really some of the big things. The sticker, really, the thing that's really sticking in both of these bills, how do you pay? The pay-fors. Now, of course, we principally pay on gas taxes.
Correct.
Well, if you think about it, particularly going forward, gasoline taxes are sort of an antiquated formula because let's say you buy a Chevy Volt and I've got a Ford Escape, right?
Right.
I'm traveling 100 miles on the expressway, wear and tear on the expressway.
Yep.
You have a Volt, you're traveling 100 miles, but you didn't pay all the gas tax.
That's correct.
Which is why you bought that kind of a car.
That's right.
Now, at some point, these alternative types of vehicles are going to be more prevalent.
Correct.
So we have to think of a different way. And what we've said on the House side is that we should be doing more energy exploration in oil, natural gas, et cetera, and then the royalties and the leases from that could be put into the Highway Trust Fund. But that is devolving into an enormous debate. So that's sort of, we'll see what happens here.
That'll be a very interesting debate to follow, and I had not thought of the gas tax just the way you explained it. But
Yeah,
that
how do you
obviously
pay,
is
right?
true. Right, how do you pay?
Going forward,
That's right.
particularly if you're looking at a bill that's 5 years out into the future.
That's right.
So.
The Ambassador Bridge, is that part of this transportation bill? Are we being held up because but you
No,
approved
no.
money years ago,
Yeah.
had money approved to
Yeah.
get the bridge done.
The Ambassador Bridge has nothing to do with the transfer.
I meant Blue Water.
Oh, the Blue Water
Yeah,
Bridge.
yeah.
Really, neither one of them
Okay.
are really, I mean, they are impacted in some way, but neither one of them is a critical element that would hold up the bridge, the highway bill. But of course, both bridges have gotten a lot of money from the federal highways over the years for, just as we see right now on I-94, right there by the bridge.
It's coming along good.
You know, particularly with this beautiful weather
Oh,
all winter.
they've been moving.
They have been working, and so they're, and of course they get bonuses if they get done quicker.
That's fine.
And that's
I'm not
absolutely.
opposed to that.
Yeah,
Opposed
you
to
got to
that.
have incentives, right?
So that's one of the issues, the transportation issue. The Homeland Security, is that department, is that committee just pretty much status quo? You don't have any major changes there at this time?
Well, actually, on the Homeland Security Committee, I'm very proud this Congress, you know, we're in the 112th Congress, so every 2 years since the beginning of our nation is another Congress. Right now we're in the 112th Congress.
Wonderful.
It's really something.
Yeah.
And so in the 112th Congress, I'm chairing the subcommittee on Homeland, on borders,
Okay.
and maritime, which I think is a great fit for our district.
Well, it's very appropriate for you. I mean, it
You know,
really is.
when you think about our district being
Yeah.
a border district
Yep.
here, and also our committee has jurisdiction over the Coast Guard, and
Oh,
so
really?
if you think about what a huge
Yep.
presence the Coast
Yep.
Guard has here
Yep.
in the Great Lakes, so we have a lot of different border kinds of issues that we have been dealing with, both on the southern border and the northern border, and that's one of the things I've tried to educate my other members on. I said, we spend all our time worrying about everything that's happening on the southern border, which, believe me, I don't minimize for a moment.
No, correct.
But we have more than one border. We have the northern border and we have our coastal border. So we've been looking at ports of entry, you know, container ships coming into our various ports all across the nation, and we've been looking at a number of different things. And we just had an interesting hearing the other day about visa overstays. And the only reason I mention that is because everybody seems to think that every illegal immigrant or alien that we have in the country came across the desert.
Yeah.
Actually, 40% of all the illegals that are in the country are here on visa overstays. And you know, if you think about the 9/11 terrorists, 4 of them were here on visa overstays. We just had a incident in Washington several weeks ago where a Moroccan fellow that had been here for 13 years actually on a visa overstay tried to blow up the Capitol. So that's a very important issue.
Would that be a responsibility of Homeland Security to follow up on those visas, or would that be a different department?
It really is for the Department of Homeland Security, working with, for instance, the Department of State
Okay.
is where you, but we've,
You
because of our...
get your visa from the Department of State.
Yes.
And then I'm here through October of 2004, and I stayed.
Yes, that's right. And so this is the problem that we have with the Department of Homeland Security. They don't have a really comprehensive, robust biometric system, which is, you know, if you're coming in for, and of course we're an open country here, right?
Oh,
So we
yes.
want people to come on student visas or
Yes.
tourist visas or whatever. But we want to make sure when you come in that we know who you are coming in. And we want to make sure that when your visa expires, we know then that you have exited.
That's a good avenue to
And-
pursue then.
Yeah, so we are really spending some time on that.
Great. You've been in Congress for a number of years. How many years now?
This is my 10th year.
Isn't that wonderful? 10th year. But you got started in local community politics, and you were in Harrison Township for a long while. Then became a candidate in the state, and became Secretary of State, and had a wonderful career there. Came here years ago and planted a sign in front of the St. Clair Inn.
Yes, that's right. When I was the Secretary of State, that's right. Because
Don Reynolds and
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
that job actually was an interesting.
You loved that part.
I loved it. Now, the interesting appendage off the Secretary of State was I was the official historian.
Right.
I never could figure out what that really had to do with driver's licenses and license plates, but I loved that part of the job because, like you say, the historical markers all over the state and the wonderful, wonderful, rich history and heritage we have here in Michigan. I learned a lot.
Somewhere in this building here, I've got a copy of that video. I'll have to get it
kidding.
for you
Oh, wow.
and send it to your office.
We look exactly the same,
we don't,
right?
Well, no, absolutely.
No
You look a
change.
little younger, I think. But my point being, you've been through this year after year after year, and now we pick up the paper and the Congress has got such a low rating, and politicians in the states have low. How do we solve this? How do we change it? Do you have any
the
thoughts?
country is very polarized.
Yes.
The country, there's a lot of volatility
Yep.
with the issues that are the challenges that are facing the nation, as well as I think the very painful economic transition that everyone has been through. And it manifests itself in many ways in politics. And really, the politicians, whether it's the state legislature of the respective states or the Congress, which is really just a reflection of America, we're sort of volatile too. We're reflecting what's happening in the country. And when you say the low approval ratings, I read a poll the other day that said we were at, I don't know, 10% or something approval. I think I've heard people say when you get down to that low point, it's only blood relatives and staff that like you. Everybody
And maybe the staff.
You're not sure, yeah. But I don't mean to joke about it, but you think, this is my opinion. I think because of all of these kinds of things, and because you have a divided government right now, where you have the Republicans controlling, they have the majority in the House, the Democrats have majority in the Senate, and of course, a Democratic president. You really are having a clash of ideology.
Correct.
And I understand the frustration that people have with, the gridlock, however you want to categorize it. But each side is not wanting to give on their basic core beliefs. You have one side that is saying, we have now almost $16 trillion in debt, and we have got to make these spending cuts. As painful as they may be, it's unsustainable to continue along this path, and I'm of that ilk. And in fact, I think not only is it not sustainable, I think an argument can be made it's almost immoral for this. No generation ever did this to the next generation in America.
Well, that's true. That's very true.
Well, our parents and grandparents didn't do it to us, and so there's that. But those are very painful choices. And you have the other side saying, we can absorb some more of this debt. And these other programs are so important, and the compassionate nation needs to continue these programs.
So there's positives on both sides.
That's the difficult.
There was a fellow by the name of Gerald Ford who said about Congress that it's the art of compromise in politics, and some of that seems to have gone at this point in time. But he was right at that era to say that. But.
Yeah. Well, I think there is. There's a lot of dynamics for that as well, and as I say, we're sort of a reflection of it. And in one way, because of the way that the districts are drawn all over the country now, you don't have so much in the middle.
Right.
You have more to each side. And I think the news media, really, because it's 24/7.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, it's got everybody churning all the time.
And whatever your politics is, you listen to that channel.
Yes.
So you just become more ingrained in that thought.
Yes, that is true.
You don't think for yourself.
Yes, and some of the channels are not really so much making the news as they're pontificating about
Correct.
it, or reporting
on
on the
both
news.
sides.
They're more on both sides.
That's right.
So you have all these things. I'm going to tell you, even as a member of Congress, I never had this when I was a Secretary of State, but I now think about when I walk out of my office, or even when I'm in my office meeting with people, but when you walk out of your office and you're walking across to vote, a lot of times people will run up to you with a camera, and they stick it in your face, and they ask you a question. You just know that they want you to make some mistake so they can put it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
it's just a whole, it never used to be that way.
No.
So even
Gotcha.
I'm not complaining about it. I'm just telling you it's a new era.
No.
You have a new awareness.
You watch all the channels, and you see the people walking down the halls of Congress, and they're just a pack of
they run
people
after you.
running after you.
Yeah. Within, they're hoping that you make some mistake, that you say something wrong or whatever.
Society.
So I don't know, but maybe that's good. But
you referenced redistricting there just a second or two ago. There was a flamboyant guy in Cleveland by the name of Dennis Kucinich that just was redistricted and had a landslide from one of his fellow Democrats, defeated him in the primary. Your district has changed a little?
Yes, not too much though. Actually, if you think about the 10th Congressional District, first of all, in Michigan, of course, every 10 years, in every state all over the nation, every 10 years there's a complete census taken, and then there's reapportionment depending on what your population is. And so Michigan, unfortunately, is losing one member of Congress. We had 15 in the House. Of course, every state has 2 senators, no matter if you're California or Vermont. But in Michigan, we had 15 House members. We're going down to 14.
It's not good.
It's not good because you lose one member, you lose a voice for the auto industry, for the Great Lakes, or what, you lose a voice for your state. So we're going down to 14. But my particular district was actually the only one of the 15 that actually gained a bit of population. So it has changed a little bit, but not much. I have about 95% of what I had previously. So I have
Did you go up further in the thumb?
I took most of Tuscola County, which I didn't previously represent. And then I lost a little bit in the city of Sterling Heights in Macomb
Okay.
County. But other than that, I still have all of St. Clair. I have the northern part of Macomb, essentially. I have all of St. Clair, Sanilac, Huron, Lapeer, and now most of Tuscola County. So, hey, it's thumbs up.
It's I like that. I like that. But don't you serve on the Agriculture Committee too?
No.
No?
No, I don't.
Well,
But we have a very heavy agricultural district. I spend a lot of time meeting with the different farm bureaus throughout my district, and very proud that in the last number of years, the Michigan Farm Bureau has always named me what they call a friend of Farm Bureau.
Friend of Farm Bureau.
So.
Well, speaking of things being friends, we had the honor just recently to receive an award from the Enlisted Association of the National Guard of the United States, the Montgomery Eagle Award. And I want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you.
Talk to me about that. What is the award?
Well, there were 2 members of Congress that received
the
that
whole-
award
from the whole Congress?
From the whole country this year that received that award, and I was.
That's an honor.
It was a very humbling and very big evening for me and an event, and I got that in Washington. And the reason I received that is because in the House I had a piece of legislation that passed unanimously. How about that?
Oh, no,
that's
no.
almost
No,
unheard
no.
of. I
Did
hate to
anybody
even
write the
admit it.
date down?
Goodness, yeah. And that was a piece of legislation that we attached, an amendment to the defense bill
Okay.
that allowed for the National Guard to be part of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Oh, okay. That
So-
seems like it was long overdue.
Long overdue. And then, of course, it ended up passing the Senate, and the President has signed it. So the National Guard's very happy about that, and they gave me this award, and I appreciate that. But hopefully I did it for all the right reasons, and this was my reasoning. If you think about the country and how we were built on revolution, the very first thing we
Yes.
ever had was the Guard.
I agree with you.
That was the Minutemen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so they have been with us and been such a critical component of Homeland Security, national security, all through our entire history of the United States. And in the last decade, in theater, particularly in Iraq and Afghanistan, which I've been to both of those places, there you found and find about in the 30 percentile. Everybody who is there is either is either National Guard or Reserve. And so they're really complementary to the active duty. And they certainly should have a seat at the table
Yes.
with the Joint Chiefs to be able to advocate for what both the Air and National and the Army Guard. In fact, we started the program talking about what's happening with the A-10s.
Right.
I said to the Secretary of Defense, I don't mind saying this out loud, I said to him, if I didn't know better, I think you guys are hammering the Air National Guard before they get into the Joint Chiefs,
Well,
before they
that's
have something
A
to
seat
say
at the
for
table.
themselves.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a seat at the table, you could be an item on the menu.
That's
And
right.
that's
a
sort of
pretty good
what's
line. I like that.
looking what's happening
I
to the
like that.
Guard. So anyway, that's I think is going to strengthen our military posture going forward.
Well, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Did we miss anything?
I would just say this, as you mentioned, it's an interesting time, an exciting
Yeah.
time, but it
Got to be
is
frustrating.
it's frustrating but wonderful. You know, it's the thing is, I do mean this sincerely. We have such a beautiful area, and I have the great honor and privilege to represent the people in this district, and they are very opinionated.
Yes.
And I appreciate that. And
And you hear both sides.
I hear both sides.
When you're wrong, when you're right,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, and this really is sort of a swing district, so I mean, you got a little bit of everything here. And people have very strong feelings about what is happening, whether it's the economy, jobs, in Afghanistan, on and on and on. So many of these issues, the Great Lakes, all of these various issues. But I try to, do shows like yours or talk to as many people as I can, as often
You're
as
out.
I can. You can't make decisions like we're facing today in a vacuum.
No.
You have to be able to talk to people that you represent and try to, digest it a bit and, think about it. And sometimes some of these votes, you better dig down deep because they're not just fluff. These are really impactful
You've always
votes.
had that history back from when you were the Secretary of State of being very open and very communicative. back talking with John Hill on WPHM, and
Yeah,
now
John
with Paul
Hill, right.
Miller, and coming into this show. And I know the other fellows appreciate it, and I appreciate it. But I think it's important for your constituents to be able to see you and touch you and talk to you, and I salute you for that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I think it's important for them. You know what? It's really important for me because, again, you can't do the job effectively. And I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't mean this to sound political. Maybe it does. I don't mean to be hokey about this. But, you know, I've been involved in public service.
Correct.
And at the end of it all you really have is your reputation.
Oh, that's correct.
That's it.
That's correct.
You know, we're all gonna exit
That's right.
this place at some
That's
point,
right.
and all you have at the end of it is your reputation.
That's right.
And you got to think back, and hopefully you made an impact. And so.
Well, you pick up the paper or turn on the television and you hear something about other people, other politicians that are not doing it well, and the public finds out, and they're out the door.
Yeah.
And the longevity that you've had obviously says reams about who you are. So.
Well, anyway, I certainly appreciate it. It is my great honor to be able to represent this area, and I take the job really serious, and there are a lot of big things. So I would just say that anyone that's listening to this, please feel free to contact my office. You can call our district office here at 586-997-5010, or just go on the web and go to our website and email us or what have you. But I really do look for the suggestions and the input, and I appreciate that.
Congressman, Congressperson, woman.
You can call me Congressman, no
Congressman,
problem.
whatever, from the 10th Congressional District here in the thumb of Michigan, Candice Miller. We thank her for stopping by to the round table. Till next time, I'm Paul Dingaman. Thanks for tuning in.